Well, good morning, everyone. How are you? And once again, welcome to another live this morning. And we're hoping you're having a great start to your day. And let's say hello to some dear friends, as we usually do. And it's always, big part of our group because we treat you guys like family. And Eric, you are number one this morning. Brahim, number two. Lori, Ventura, California. Number three, Sandy, Minnesota. Sue, how are you? And, I couldn't see that. Sandy. And Beth, bonjour. Brenda, how are you from New Brunswick? Kate from Tirana. Norma, Texas. Jeanette, how are you? Wendy from Markham. And Rose, good morning from Brampton. Nancy, Gore's Landing, how are you? Gary, Bolton. And Keith, how are you, my friend? Jeanette, good to have you on. Mary from Norwich. And Yolande, how are you, Yolande? Tina, good morning. Two Tinas in a row. Marilyn from Edmonton. And Anna, I think. Arlene, how are you? Carol, nice to have you on. Gloria from New York. Linda, oh, those Lindas. Uppsala. Donna and Veronica. And Judy. And Karen. And Marianne from London. John Lafroy. Sunny. Yeah, it's sunny here today too. Rita. Doris, how are you? Jocelyn from Baxter. Tommy. Barbara. And Karen. Wendy from London. Good morning. Tish from Ipperwash. How are you, Tish? Rita, Wasaga, Maureen, Penticton, British Columbia. Fran from Orangeville. Dorothy, have a great day, Dorothy. And that looks like Karen or Yvonne, Petawawa. Mariette, bonjour de Berner, Donna. Lori and Ryan from Sarasota, Florida. Sanji, Victoria. And my word, it gets up into there, I can't see it. Bonnie, how are you? Rose, how are you? Dave, our friend from Muskoka. Cheryl. And Sandy from Vancouver, Washington. Wanda, Ridgeway, two more. Leela. And Madeleine, how are you? And Denise from Oakville, good morning. And I think, you see, gets up into my cloud there, guys. And I can't see it. Robin from Connecticut. Okay, I want to talk to you this morning, okay, about 1, 2, 3 studies on insulin, okay? And one of them, we talked about, like, it's not a new study. You know, it's probably somewhere around 5, 6 years old. But I read it again, and I actually commented on it recently in a newsletter that we sent out. Because this is one of probably the most, one of the most important studies on metabolic health. Okay, so when I talk about metabolic health and metabolic syndrome, okay, I'm talking about how your body takes food and turns it into energy. And when you have insulin resistance, okay, again, very quickly, how do you get insulin resistance? Primarily by choosing the bad foods. Sugar, carbs, crappy carbs. Okay? Nobody got insulin resistance, by the way. You know, because somebody asked me this the other day. Like, Doc, are fruits and vegetables bad? No. And you know, nobody ever gets insulin resistance because they're eating fruits and vegetables. It just doesn't happen. Now, if you're drinking a fruit juice, that's different. You're meant to eat fruits, God's candies, and not to drink them. Don't drink it. Okay? So, insulin resistance is crappy carbohydrates, sugars, especially added sugars to everything, and then crappy carbs, terrible. And the worst sugar you can get is when you drink sugar. You're not meant to. Okay, now, you guys might remember this study, but it is unreal. And it just shows you the importance of food. Okay? Always start with that foundation of food. Listen to this study again, repeat. 200 people, they followed for 6 years, divided into 3 groups. One with the worst insulin resistance. Okay, so they measured it. Okay, they measured fasting insulin. The people with the worst insulin, okay, were put into one category, moderate insulin, second category, and no insulin resistance, third category. After 6 years, only the group with no insulin resistance, after 6 years, that group there, none of that group in the no insulin resistance, none of them got any disease at all. No heart disease, no diabetes, no Alzheimer's, no cancer, nothing. And it's interesting because when you read the study and the comments on it by researchers, they were astounded. Well, it wouldn't astound me. Insulin resistance, it's one of the seeds of disease. You take insulin resistance and leaky gut, and you pretty well covered all bases when it comes to disease. Chronic diseases, okay? As Tony Jr. years ago said this to me, I thought it was brilliant. Dad, disease without a fever. Because if you go back, 50, 60 years, most people, now I'm not saying all, most people got sick because of a bacteria or viruses. Okay? But when we talk about chronic diseases, we're not talking bacteria or viruses. We're talking about insulin or leaky gut. And that can have a major effect. So let's stick with this insulin. Okay? So that was one of the, measuring insulin and insulin resistance, and the group that had no insulin resistance followed them for 6 years, and they got absolutely, the other groups some of them got sick. The people with the highest levels of insulin, after 6 years of following them, many of them became diabetics. Many of them got cancer. Many of them had heart disease or a heart attack or a stroke. But the group with no insulin resistance had none. Absolutely none. So that tells us there's a lot of there's a lot of bang for your buck in changing your diet. Okay? There's a lot of bang for your buck in changing your diet. Start there. And I know many of you started the reset on May 1st. And the reset is a 30-day program to lower insulin resistance. Its primary purpose when I developed this program in my office was to reverse insulin resistance. And it works. And it works. Okay? Now, second study. And again, not a brand new study, but I flagged it because I read it again, I think yesterday. And here was the study, okay? High insulin, okay? So we talked about that. Insulin resistance. People that have an A1C. By the way, you can measure insulin, okay? You can, I call this the poor man's measurement, okay? Because a lot of doctors, they don't want to do insulin. They're interested in your blood sugar, okay? So you get your blood sugar done, but the one that I like the most when they do your blood sugar is an average blood sugar over 3 months. That's called your A1C. Okay? Because what happens, sugar attaches to hemoglobin. Okay? Where do you find hemoglobin? In your red blood cells. So as your red blood cells are circulating around in your bloodstream, sugar attaches its wagon to them. And you can measure that. It's called A1C. Glycated. That's what it is. It's glycated red blood cells. And they can measure that. And I love that. I love looking at that test because it tells me almost everything I want to know, whether you have trouble with insulin or not. And you have, for sure, insulin resistance if you're over 5.4 on your A1C. Okay? If you're over 5.4 on your A1C, you're on the Titanic. Don't fool yourself. Was it April, what was the date, I think? Was it April 15th that the Titanic went down? I should have done a whole thing on the Titanic on the 15th of April. But I was laughing because, I was always fascinated by the story of the Titanic, and they were playing nearer to God, the orchestra, as the ship was going down. The orchestra was playing nearer to God. It's almost a little comical. But the point is that the ship's going down. People that have an A1C over 5.4, listen, Lindas, listen, Larrys. You need to do the reset. Get that A1C down and fix insulin resistance, because following that group, the people that got any type of chronic disease had an A1C over 5.4. They're the ones that were susceptible to heart disease and stroke, cancer, Alzheimer's, diabetes, of course, autoimmune even. Why do we see so much autoimmune today, comparatively? Yeah, the environment, and we got all these chemicals and plastics and yada, yada, yada. Okay? But the thing you can control is what you put in your food that you put in your mouth every day. Start there, guys. Start there. Now, second study, high insulin, so anything over 5.4 would be considered insulin resistance, okay? Plus fructose, okay? So people that have insulin resistance and they love their fructose, not fruits not fruits, okay? Not eating an orange. I'm not talking about that. It's people who were consuming a fair amount of sugar, added sugar, either in a drink, which is the worst, okay, or eating, high fructose corn syrup, by the way, which is in everything, and they couch it. They lie about it because they don't have to label it. You got 100 different names for sugars. Go through the grocery store there. And anytime you see added sugar, you'll find different names for, they don't have to tell you they're putting high fructose corn syrup there. They can lie about it. Okay? They can lie about it. It's in cereal. It's in bread. It's in ketchup. It's in crackers. It's in everything in the middle aisles of the grocery store, just about. So when you combine that high fructose corn syrup plus having elevated insulin, anything above 5.4, here's what they said. You're going to have trouble absorbing vitamin D, whether in supplement or the sun. Imagine that. Insulin resistant. Do you think it's serious? Think of what happens when you have low levels of vitamin D in your bloodstream. Okay? To my American friends. Okay? What should you shoot for? Folks, it's worth the investment. If your doctor doesn't want to take your vitamin D, because in medicine, vitamin D is only for your bones. They don't see it as an immune booster. They don't see it as anti-cancer, anti-heart, anti-Alzheimer's, anti-everything. Vitamin D, as I repeat and repeat and repeat, you are a human solar panel. Okay? You operate on batteries. Elon Musk would be happy with you. Okay? You're a Tesla. No, but seriously, guys, your body and especially your immune system, especially those NK cells, those are your killer cells. Those are your white blood cells that they are the Navy SEALs and T cells. They fire on all cylinders if they got enough vitamin D. But listen to the bad news. If you've got insulin resistance, plus fructose, you're not absorbing vitamin D like you should. Holy moly. And that's not good. Okay? Remember, you need sun, steak, and steel. Okay. Now, so very detrimental on vitamin D. Now, I want to talk to you about some of again, reading an article, and I used to have a poster up. I wish I could find it. I'm sure I have it somewhere in my office. Okay? On check the engine light. Okay? And to tell you, without the A1C, Be suspicious that your insulin is elevated if you have, and I had strong indicators, okay? And I'll give you an example. Obesity, belly fat, high blood pressure, high triglycerides, high uric acid. Okay, those were all blood tests that you could get done. Obesity, I mean, you just observed. Strong indications that you have insulin resistance, obesity, belly fat, high blood pressure, increased triglycerides, low HDL, inflammation, CRP, that's the test, fatty liver. Oh, millions and millions of people are walking around the planet today, especially in North America, and they have fatty liver, and they don't even know it. There's really no symptoms of fatty liver until it advances, until there's almost sclerosis within the liver. But if you have high triglycerides and you have low HDL, just not 100%, but there's a good chance you got fatty liver. The Costco parking lot is full. Kids get fatty liver. You can get fatty liver within 5 days of eating a bad diet. Start that process of fatty liver. You know what the good news is? 6 days on the road, and 6 days you can empty your liver. Why do you think I want you to do the reset? And fat, hello? Fat don't give you fatty liver. Okay? Fat don't give you fatty liver. There's nothing worse than high fructose corn syrup to give you fatty liver. It's in sodas. It's in juices. It's in, you go to Starbucks, the candy shop. That's what I call Starbucks now, the candy shop. I wish I wasn't right about that. Okay? I wish I wasn't right, because I go in there, and you guys know me with vitamin C. I love vitamin C. But if I go into a Starbucks, I see all these young people, and I want to go to them and go, give me a high five, guys. Hey, you're listening to the Doctor Is In podcast. You're ordering a coffee. Nah, they're not ordering coffee. They get all these sugary drinks. I had grandchildren work at Starbucks. And they said, Grandpa, you wouldn't like it. What? Nah, you should see all the sugar we had. Unbelievable. They're just all sugary drinks. These lattes and whatever else they like over there. It's craziness. And a lot of those young people, they have no idea. They're on the Titanic. Nobody's talking about that because, medicine, I hate to say it, they wait till you get sick. And here's a pill. Wait till you get sick and pop a pill. That's not prevention. Oh, here, we're just going to put your A1C's high. And physicians are reaching for metformin. What they should do is send you home and tell you to eat eggs, meat, and cheese and lay off the carbs. Because if you're over 5.4, you and carbs don't get along. I tell that to people all the time. I said, you're in a bad relationship. They're thinking family dynamics, right? You're in a bad relationship. How do you know, Dr. Martin, about my relationship with my spouse? I said, no, I don't know that. I said, you got a bad relationship with food. You and carbs don't get along. Yeah, but I like them. Yeah, but they don't like you. They don't like you. And, if you can come to that in life, okay? You can come to that in life, and it helps if you understand that. I always saw myself as an educator and a coach, okay? I wanted to pump people's tires, but I really wanted to be an educator. I wanted people to understand your body. You got trouble with insulin. Okay, what's that mean, doc? It means you've got a bad relationship with food. Don't fool yourself. You and carbs don't get along. That's a bad relationship. And, let me give you what our list, okay? Strong indicators. Okay, inflammation, talked about it, fatty liver, acanthosis nigricans. Oh. Only medicine would give us those names. You know what that means? It means a discoloration of your skin. Look at your armpits. You see browning there, or browning in the neck, or browning in your legs, okay, especially the lower legs, or in your groin. You see a browning there, and like a tan, but you got no tan anywhere else. That is a strong indicator that you and carbs don't get along. It's your skin having diabetes before you become a diabetic. You know me. A diabetic before diabetes. What does that mean? I always hated, because I used to get asked this on the radio program all the time. I always hated pre-diabetes. I didn't like, it's like telling a woman, you're a little bit pregnant. No, you're either pregnant or you're not. And diabetes really, okay? When they say you're a pre-diabetic, no, you're a diabetic. Without the numbers. You sort of put that in your craw. You're a diabetic without the numbers, okay? Like, how they do it in your blood glucose. Oh, it's got to be over that. If you're over that, you're a diabetic, okay? A1C, if you're over 6.5, you're probably a diabetic. Nah, you're a diabetic way before that, really. It's just that the numbers, they wait for numbers. God loved medicine, but they are hooked on numbers. They're hijacked by the lab. They have numbers and, right? My friend, let me tell you something. If you have high blood pressure, you can bet your boots you're effectively a diabetic. If you have high triglycerides and low HDL, you really are effectively a diabetic. Now, your skin will give you indications that you are a diabetic before the numbers will. Okay? Acanthosis nigricans. Ooh. Browning. Why don't they just say it? Browning of the skin. And I don't mean suntan. Okay? Psoriasis. You look at psoriasis. My experience is you're on the Titanic. Your skin is saying, hello. That's what your skin is saying. I know there's leaky gut involved too in psoriasis. Okay? Some of these strange ones. Dowager's hump. You ever seen a Dowager's hump? Right at T1 here, right at the base of your neck. You see people and they got a hump there? That's insulin. The insulin sort of just pumps up the back of your neck. Okay? It's saying, hello, you're a diabetic without the numbers. Okay? You're a diabetic without the numbers. Men, you got ED. You're a diabetic without the numbers. You're already a diabetic. It just hit you in a different spot. Hello? Guys, it's insulin. Remember my book, The Hormone That Wants You Dead. Insulin's your friend until it's not. You wore it out. And your cells don't like it anymore, and they don't want to respond the way they should. Your muscle cells. And by the way, this is another one, because a lot of people, they really fight me on this. Okay, they really fight me on this. Uric acid. Now, everybody makes uric acid, guys. Everybody makes uric acid. It's a byproduct. Okay? It's a byproduct of the Krebs cycle. You make uric acid. But people that get high levels of uric acid in their blood, it's because they're not filtering out that uric acid in their urine. Their kidneys don't get rid of it. Kidneys are hypersensitive, guys. I'm telling you, I've said this to you a million times. Kidneys are hypersensitive to glucose, sugar. Not salt, sugar. And not purines. I'm sorry. Shellfish and all. No, it's insulin. And the reason I know that, even though gout has been around, gout is just a small part of people that have high uric acid. A lot of people have high uric acid levels without gout. But when they get gout, I better cut back on red meat. I better cut back on, shellfish, and because it's purines. Google it. Purines comes up. Guys, I get a migraine when I read that. And the reason, and I've said this in a book, I think 30 years ago I wrote this. Uric acid is an indicator. If it's high, it's an indicator that should be put in with metabolic syndrome. As much as triglycerides, as much as HDL, as much as your blood pressure, as much as your blood sugar, as much as belly fat. Add another one, uric acid. If uric acid is high, it means your kidneys are not filtering it properly, and that comes because you have insulin resistance. And I say this because why has gout gone up about 300% in the last 20, 30 years? Why is high levels of uric acid a big problem? Creates a lot of inflammation in the body. Because of high fructose corn syrup and insulin resistance. Fructose. fructose is a huge problem in uric acid. Okay? Oh, yeah. I didn't even get to half of these things that I wanted to talk about. Okay, those were strong indicators. Okay. And, okay, guys, we love you dearly. You know what tomorrow is? Question and Answer Friday. Can't wait. We always enjoy it. I hope we enjoy it together, don't we? Okay, yeah. You know, we get a lot of feedback about Question and Answer Friday and Mondays. We've turned Monday into Question and Answer Monday. I don't know if that's going to happen this week. We'll see how many questions we get. But don't be shy, guys. Ask your questions. Okay. We love you dearly, guys. And we will talk to you soon.